I mean, I mean, I'd
It
say we're
gets
getting a little footsie with it, but I don't think I could feel my feet in the ice bath, bro.
no, and it gets funnier every time because even as I mean, made the background, and it makes me laugh seeing our faces overlaid on naked men's bodies in an ice bath.
Also, I mean, we're identical twins below the
We are,
shoulders.
yeah.
We've always known it.
This is
Like,
the same exact photo.
just confirmed.
Also, these guys ice bath, they're in like a jungle. Like,
I think it's like the opposite of like the hot tub in winter effect
oh, yes,
of like ice bath out and you just stand in like a nice humid like jungle environment.
that's what this looks
Kind of
like.
like kind of like the dome was. Like
A nice
it
humid
got hot in
environment.
there.
It did get
It got
hot in there.
hot in
I
there.
feel like it was less hot than last year, though.
I wouldn't know.
No,
All I
you
know
wouldn't
is
know.
this ice bath into
It's
this year's dome
incredible
tournament.
because
That's it.
let me tell you, I was tired after just one day of frisbee.
Not even a full day.
No,
It
not
was
even.
like 3/4 of a day.
No, no, I am tired. I like sore. Obviously, we practice once a week, which you don't, loser. But we practicing once a week, but it's not a tournament setting, where it's
Right.
like so we're bringing it right back to that my golf thing. You know how you clowned on me for needing to work out because my ab
Yes.
muscles hurt because I haven't golfed in a while because I don't use those
Absolutely.
muscles. Those
Yes.
same muscles for frisbee tournaments hurt because this is the first actual frisbee tournament that we've been in a while, and so the ice bath is
Yeah, I
needed.
would no crap for that because my lower back after about backhand 8 was
Yeah.
starting to tense up, and I was like, I'm turning into Ryan Scott,
Oh.
which is too much of me thinking highly of myself and my backhand. But it was like, yeah, you throw too much and you get back pain because your abs aren't strong enough right now.
Yeah. I mentioned in one of the pods, last episode, 2 episodes, the importance of, or maybe even the first episode, I don't know, the importance of clipping your fingernails. Well, I did clip my finger. Well, I chewed my fingernails because if you remember, I'm still a caveman.
Yep. Oh yeah, you definitely
Yeah,
brought it up.
yeah. But I forgot to clip my toenails, and let me tell
Oh,
you,
dude, in your cleats too. Like,
that might have been worse than forgetting to clip my fingernails. My toes. I tried to even like get down on my knees and like stretch my back, get into like child's pose and do
oh,
back
I saw
stretches.
in between games. It
My
was
no, but
arousing,
even like
to say the least.
yesterday, like I would get on my knees and my toes would be touching the floor, and I'd have to like lift my toes up because
Because it hurt too
because
much.
it hurt too much because these toenails were like digging into my. And on top of that, I got this really huge blister on my left big toe. So like my feet, I completely forgot to clip my toenails, which is great. We're having this experience now because I'm glad I remembered. I
You
forgot
will.
about remembering this here instead of Wisconsin, where I
I
will
was gonna
not
say you
have
are gonna
toenail
remember
clippers.
for every big tournament for the rest of your life
Gotta
of
clip my
like
toenails.
freshly cut toenails,
Have to. Night before.
or you play barefoot. Like
That
that's
too.
another
That
option.
is, yes. That it could be too. But then I'm getting stomped on cleats.
Yeah,
Like
but
then
I
I
mean,
run
you'd
that
have your
risk.
gloves on, so like throwback to old episode, you'd be fine.
I'd be fine. I'd figure it out. I'd be able to make the decision.
Yeah, dude, I've been messing around with more of like a Cali grip, trying to copy the Japan style of backhand and like slowly work into that.
I did see that.
What I found is I have really soft hands because I have like 3 open cuts after wearing tape on the finger where I hold Cali grip,
Yeah. I
and
wonder
I
if
was like, or like sensitivity in that area of like I picked a pen up the wrong way at work yesterday, and I suddenly dropped it because it hurt. I
that's
was like, I
crazy.
was like, this is pretty sad.
Well, you got your hand out of the ice bath right now. You better get
Oh,
that hand in
they're
there.
going
Yeah.
fully back down in. We
Attaboy.
are just keeping them submerged,
Attaboy.
working on it.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to today's episode of the Bag Zone podcast. We are recording this windmill. Are we doing that
Every time.
Is that every time?
At least
Is
I
that
am.
okay? That's great.
And I'm
I
gonna
can.
forget one week, and then it's gonna be a big deal.
It
It's
will
gonna
be.
be a
It will
sad
be a big deal.
podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be windmilling every time then. That's great.
Call us out if we
Call us
don't.
out if we don't. Please do, because I will now, just like my toenails, I will forget. to clip it. So we are back. It is Tuesday today. It's not Monday because we called an audible. Today is Tuesday. And as you can see from the title of the episode, more domes.
Which, I mean, what's better than 5 domes on a line?
At least 6. If we could extend the line and have one more dome on the
Yeah,
line.
I'm thinking 2 lines with 5 domes each. Like,
Oh, 10 total domes.
10 domes.
Wow.
1 Frisbee. That would be either the best or the worst movie ever made.
That sounds like a 10 domes. There's
Yeah,
the
like,
explosions going off in the background. 1 Frisbee. Action
and then
packed
it's,
adventure.
yeah, and you're like, in 1 upside down dome to win them all. Because that's how they call trophies. Everything is just related to
To
domes.
domes.
Like they're just throwing a flat dome, which is what they call a Frisbee.
Yes. A flat dome. They don't call it. It's a flat dome, which it is kind of if you think about it. If you
Yeah,
took the dome and you compressed it,
you just got a disc.
wow, you've opened my eyes to something magical. I've never thought about domes that way. Now
So
every time I go
even
to work,
extra, yeah, dude. Even extra aside, shout out to Aiden Claffey for the legendary call of "Up Like a Cup."
oh yes,
But I've been saying for a minute and didn't even realize it fit into this podcast. Down like the dome for top, but it works so much better now.
down like the dome. Oh my god, yeah, okay. That
So I'm never gonna call a Frisbee any other way now.
Oh my god! All of the people that weren't at the dome tournament or don't listen to this podcast are gonna hear "down like a dome," and I'm like,
And
"What
be
does
like,
that
I don't know
mean?"
what that means. What
And
did
then
you
you
call?
tell them the opposite of "up like a cup," and they go, "What does that mean?" And they're
And then
all
you just
sorts
walk
of
away.
confused.
And then no matter how it flips, if they don't get it, you just say we'll take
We'll
shot.
take shot because they have
And
no
then
idea
walk
what you're
away.
talking about. They have not a clue what you're talking about.
Or you
Oh
just
my
say we'll
god.
defer. And then they're like, what do you mean defer? There's not halves.
We want to receive the second half.
Dude, I don't remember who I was talking to. Someone told me they've done that before in like a round robin game.
They've
Is
deferred.
they chose to catch first. And I was like, I want to do that, but it's like IFT finals.
Yes,
And you're like, no, no, no. We want Carter
we
throwing
want
first.
Carter, please.
That was our game plan the whole time.
Yes.
And they're like, so you're picking side. And you go, no, no, no.
No.
We pick to receive. You get to pick side.
We just want to catch. We don't care where we start or who's throwing back. We just want to catch.
That's it. But yeah,
Oh.
the dome tournament was fantastic. We'll get into details a little bit later. But first we got to talk about the first that was garbage travel experience on the Guts Frisbee season.
Yeah, I heard you you had a little
I
slide
dumped
slide.
my car.
Yeah.
For all Guts intents and purposes. Yeah, so my buddy and I, shout out Dan Hill, no longer a rookie, just finished his last rookie tournament, but super into the game. But we carpooled and we were heading back downstate after the dome tournament on Sunday morning, and it was like bad, bad by like that Gaylord area where
Yeah.
you're up on the hills after the bridge,
Yep.
and I could tell for a while I was like, someone's gonna slip somewhere. Like we'd seen a couple cars in the ditch, and we were going like up this hill, and there was a little bit of a turn, and as we were cresting the top of the hill, the front of my car just kept going right. And
Ooh.
fortunately, we were going like 20 miles an hour, so I just kind of hit the brake and eased her into the ditch there.
Just nice and
Uh,
smooth.
it was like there was no damage to my car, like no airbags went off. Dan
I
and I were
was
fine.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, like of all of the things, it was like I had a crack on my front left bumper that had like the panel popped out that I had super glued, and like that
Definitely.
had popped out again. That was it. And I was like,
Great.
that's crazy.
That's incredible.
But yeah, we hung out for a minute, like got towed. Had met like a super nice sheriff. Like we're all good. But yeah, that's the one downside of having a March in Michigan Frisbee tournament.
Yeah.
Not super local.
Weather can be unpredictable.
Was it worth it? Totally,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like still a great weekend.
Great
But yeah,
memories.
we're dumping on and off the field apparently.
We are,
Just
which if you can see, our dump counter is active.
I apologize. suggested this last weekend that I don't remember your name off the top of my head. Um, but someone suggested that we add our season dump totals to the podcast. As you can see, I'm clearly a better player than Braden because I dump half as often as he does,
Yes, and
and that is how math works.
if you multiply though, multiples of half, that scales pretty damn fast.
Yeah,
That
I
scales
mean it's
pretty
no Tanner
fast.
foot faulting, which is its
No,
own counter that we should keep going. But
that might be like 3 times what everyone else does.
I remember Tanner dumped a shot. It was like I watched him play like 5 points. Tanner dumped a shot, and I was sitting next to his wife, and I was like, I shouldn't say it. It would be mean. And then there was a pause, and I went, Tanner, you wouldn't have dumped short if you foot faulted. Which got a good laugh from him. And I was like, I'm happy we're not taking this too
Yes, no,
seriously.
that's awesome.
But yeah,
So
speaking of Tanner, I think that's a nice
great
natural
segue. Wow,
segue
look at
into.
you. You are firing today. You are firing today. Speaking of Tanner,
There he is.
ta-da! So these were the speaking of the dome tournament. We're now talking about the dome tournament. Talk about bad segues. Noah, you had a great segue. Mine was horrendous. That was so bad.
But hey, lower bracket champs right
Lower
here.
bracket champs are here. Uh, and I forgot their. I actually don't even know if they had a name.
Okay, so that was the other thing. I don't think we really did names, even though we touched on it like the last podcast.
Yeah, and
I know uh, that one team with Luke Jensen was my dad's name. Like he and Tabor,
oh, it was
they were
it was
like
like
we're the
Mr.
Dan
Gannon. Yeah,
Gannons.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes. I loved that.
and my dad was not on that team, but that was pretty cool.
Yes. So the way I found that out is I was sitting with the team up in the stands, and Danny came to talk to us, and sitting above us was Lucas and his whole team, and he looks behind me and he goes, "How you doing, Gannons?" And all of them responded, and I went, "What just happened?" And then Dan gave me the story, and I was like, "That's incredible."
Yeah, he just adopted a bunch of adults into the family.
I love that. That's
But yeah,
awesome.
so left to right here, for us, we got Jimmy Rector, Marquette Stalwart, Tanner Beckman, obviously, love him. Wolfpack member. His dad,
Oh.
Brian, super cool. Um, I believe Clayton was a rookie. That's Clayton pictured fourth on the right. And then Tanner's cousin, Jake Paquette, who is really a Beckman. I don't care that his last name's
Yeah,
Paquette. Like
they got
he's a
me.
he's a Beckman.
He's a
He's in
Beckman.
the family.
Yep. What's
But yeah, honestly, like super cool to see a father son pairing, like holding up the trophy together.
Yeah, that is special. You and Dan couldn't
Also, I
pull it through,
know,
hey?
yeah, I know Jimmy and Brian won the upper bracket last year, so like they're just trying to add different hardware at this point
Yeah,
at the
so
tournament.
so now
Like,
they have you can see one of those smaller plaques is is them, and now they're getting another smaller plaque on the trophy. So
I mean, I think it's just going to kind of be like tradition for a Beckman to be involved in one of the winning teams somehow
has
at
to
this
be.
point.
Has to be. Yeah, that's yeah. So if
Oh, I would
thinking for
also,
next year, we're gonna have to rig our teams. We both will
yeah,
need a Beckman.
yeah. Also, not pictured in this, they did have a six-player Taylor,
Oh yes, thank
who
you.
is not in this photo. I know she played earlier in the day. Um, I left before this photo was taken, so unsure where she was at, but they did have six. Shout out to her as well.
And this team beat the hold on, let me find them. It was Stevo and Al
Oh, it
and
was the
Juice, Maddie, and
the
Bryson
Do
Nettle.
Nettle Dunduses.
Yes. Did you just say the dude Nettle Dunduses?
Yeah, you just kind of throw all the names together, and
You
then
just
it's
throw them in there.
what you get.
I love that. Yeah, so that's who they beat.
I
Um,
mean,
I didn't watch that game because I was on the scoreboard and then was eventually called into action of the other finals game,
yeah.
which we'll get into in a
All
second.
I remember is when we were watching your game, which I'm sure you'll get into in a little bit, against what was in all essence blood and guts,
Yes, they had the
which was
shirts and everything.
hilarious. They
Incredible.
were just
Loved it.
literally blood and guts.
Yep.
Um, but at one point, I just saw like Steve-O and Al start to take over, and I was like, "Someone's getting bopped right now."
Yeah,
Like
dude.
that's just they just got full on
The
bopped, and I
field
was like,
next to
"That
me
seems."
got bopped.
I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm getting triggered." I'm like,
Noah and I are like having flashbacks.
I'm just here. I hear Sivo to Al say "bop" one time with a really crispy high five, and I was like, "Oh, geez, here
Oh
too."
no.
Like, we can't escape it. And that dome was echoey. Like,
Yeah,
you could hear it.
you could hear it. It bounced around. So lower bracket, great. I love that. That's special to me that a Beckman had a part in winning a trophy in a Beckman
Again.
tournament. That's just special. That's awesome.
And now
So
we get into this year's upper
the
bracket
upper bracket
winner,
finals. Hello, these
which
four beauties.
I love the enthusiasm. The fact that Will's eyes are super closed.
Yes, and also this was like an iPhone camera off of someone's Facebook, which I'm
Yeah, which
sorry
is
I'm blanking on who it was,
the,
but
the best place to pull a
yes,
Frisbee photo.
yes it is. So left to right, I suppose I'll do the introductions this time. Left to right, left is Will Walden, which I don't know if you saw the back of his shirt. It's
Oh yeah, he's a coach for New Zealand's ultimate team. I love that he played in a polo shirt that
yes,
said "coach" on the back.
yes, it's a polo shirt that says head coach. I thought he also had his like glasses on the whole time. He just kind of looked like
He
a
very
dad,
much like
and I
he had
loved it.
big like the biggest dad energy
I was
in the
such a
world
fan of it.
all day.
The whole day was incredible. I loved every bit of that. The next over in the striped shirt there is Hobie Manson, who you uh, were a counselor for at one point in time.
Yeah, my he was in my Bay Cliff cabin when he was in 7th grade.
Does that make you feel old yet, or
Yes, incredibly. A little proud. My former Bay Cliff camper is both playing Guts Frisbee and has won a tournament.
surely
Like,
surely he was in a few of your our guts demonstrations in the gym back in the day?
oh, he if he didn't watch it, I'm even more impressed that we got him into the sport at
Yeah.
some point. But no, I think the biggest turnaround for him, we played this team in both round robin and in bracket. Uh, he worked with, of all people, Nick Emmendorfer, who
Oh,
is my brother's childhood friend, who
yes.
has played in a few tournaments. He throws the most like I'm at a barbecue flip you could imagine.
Oh, it's so
There's no
casual.
approach. Like it he literally just like he only moves his arm like 8 inches to throw it. Like it's
Yeah,
just a little
it was
snap.
so casual.
But Hobie started to pick up on it, and he was not throwing that when we played him earlier. And it was one of those just like you got to be disciplined on the flip. And like he scored way more in bracket. Also, he bagged my backhand once, so
No
like
shit. Yeah.
there's
Well,
some talent there.
he got a few decent pops on Carter Thummers in finals because they played Carter's team and Connor Steer, Ron Blau,
The legend.
and Chase Seeger. So
Yes.
the upper bracket was 4-on-4 because both teams I think had some people leave early. Um, but yes, that was a blast to watch. So then moving on, holding the trophy in the green there, that is Connor Marshall. He is technically a rookie, but he has been practicing for a long time and throws just about everything under the sun. Um,
Yeah, I had never played against him before, and I swear he threw like 6 different shots.
yeah, and that's just kind
And
of
it
what
was
he
like, dude,
does.
it was crazy. I was like, I can't throw half of
I
these.
know. Yeah, and that's just
And he
kind of
was
what he
just
does.
like, at one thrown a backhand yet, and he just threw a turnaround backhand, and I was like, where did that come from? And then he was like, how about this fish hook? How about this flip? He tried to stake her a few times just for like funsies.
Well, see, but he actually, that's one of his shots in practice that he actually throws. So the real shots of his that I remember are backhand, flip, two finger, and staker are like his four kind of that he cycles through. I actually don't
He
know if
was
I've ever
throwing
seen him throw a thumber.
no, I haven't either. He was throwing a
Mm-mm.
pretty gross, like Ryan Scott esque fish hook for part of the day. Like
Yeah.
that thing was cutting like 3 people.
And he was named MVP of the upper bracket finals.
I
Uh,
was gonna say I didn't watch the final, but playing against him earlier, like pretty deserved.
yeah, he played pretty dang good. And then all the way on the right, smiling there in the white, that is Donnie Clemmer, the beauty, the legend.
Yeah, you want to talk about a staker?
Yeah, dude. And he was there. He was one of the first people there. I was finishing up my lacrosse game that was at home, literally like an hour before. And him and Will and Jim Moak were there, just like throwing around disc golf discs. And I was like,
Oh, that's fun.
hell yeah.
That'd be fun in the dome if you just had a free 20 minutes to just like rip a drive.
Yes. And he was. That's exactly what they were doing, which I was, hell yeah, that's awesome. But also,
That's
one of
super
my
cool.
favorite things to see is so when I was sat on the sideline watching, if I'm facing the field, to my right, I have this one, I have this one really funny memory of I'm looking and like Carter's intense and Ron looks intense because it's the finals and Connor's intense and everyone's got it in there. And then I look to the left and like Hobie's on the end next to Will, who are both ready and locked in, and Connor's next to him, kind of getting ready. And then on the end is Donnie Clemmer with a smile on his face, doing his two hand like shuffle dance thing. I loved
Just
that.
super happy to play Frisbee,
Just
which is like
all vibes,
the
and I
energy we want.
loved it. So yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great finals.
Also, they had a couple people leave.
Yep,
Other two members of the team, Elijah Taylor and Jake Borland. One, if not both, were rookies.
I think that's
Um,
correct. Yeah,
yeah, definitely got him through some of the earlier pool play and into the winners bracket. Shout outs to them as well for trying the sport, being willing to play, and also being a part of a championship team.
yeah, that's awesome. That's really really good. And I think what this tournament did, and kind of what we can get into, and I suppose we can transition this into, unless you have anything else to talk about on
No,
on
I
this
think
team.
we'll get into it here with the first time we're rocking this new segment. But after each tournament, we're going to go through together what we call down the line, um, which is going to kind of be our five things from something silly that we put on the end, working towards the middle, which is kind of like the anchor or the big takeaway from a tournament. Um, so, with that being said, uh, I'll get us started off with the left end because I'm a left side player primarily. And my left end was Bert, just Trevor Bretonia, known as Bert. If anyone can ever play with Bert, do it. And every team should have a Bert. Like
Yes, I remember
he,
well playing with him in Wisco, not
yeah,
that
he
long ago.
like, and the most fun part was like we showed up and we started to warm up, and Bert looked at me and he was like, "My back hasn't felt this good in 2 years." Like
That's awesome.
he had hurt his back like falling out of his truck awkwardly. Like it was a really weird freak injury of like he slipped and kind of like fell weird, and it's affected him for a while. But it was like fully healthy Bert, and he basically was like, nothing should hit the ground without a dive in front of the
Hell yeah.
line, and he owned up to it. He got everything up. His hands were typical Bert, which is like we have a running joke that like you just don't throw at Bert. Like it doesn't matter who the target is, it's not Bert.
I don't even know if that's a joke. I think that's just rule of thumb. Like you just don't,
Yeah, it's like I don't whoever you're playing like it doesn't matter who he's playing with. It's well, just don't throw a Bert.
just
It's
don't
a
throw
bad
it. But
idea.
yeah, probably a good thing to
But
not
like
do.
it was super fun to play with him and like really brought our team energy up at times. I also
Nice.
saw Bert get mad briefly, and
Oh
that was like new to me. And
yes.
I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" Like Bert really got into it. But he said that they were either the first team out or they had lost right away last year.
Yep.
His team for this tournament, and he was like super motivated. And I was like, I'm so happy to just like be able to just
I have Bert
experience
on my team.
like the full Bert. Yeah, because everyone was like, "Oh, how's your team doing?" And I was like, "Well, we got Bert," and they were like, "Oh, so you guys are doing pretty good." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
exactly it."
sounds. Yep, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, so left end of our down the line, even though he almost never plays the end, we got Bert.
We got Bert. So I'm gonna go next on the right end, and sticking with the person theme, but slightly different for me. I was able to get my significant other on the line, and she loved it, and I loved having her there and being able to share this game that I love with someone else that I love. So that was really really special.
He
Um,
of course means after me, because of
yes, right.
course,
Obviously, yeah.
yeah,
Noah was Noah was on the team, so obviously I had to defer to the next in line. And oh
I looked
man,
Avery in the face and I was like, just remember that we touched fingers first on this line,
we
and
did.
then
Yeah, we go way. um, and the cool thing is she got picked on a few times. And people would come to like my dad for once, like kind of got fired up that she was getting picked on, but Avery wasn't upset that she was getting picked on because she was new. She was just more upset that like her defense isn't there yet. So like she was getting upset about the right things. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't pouting that
Yeah.
she was getting picked on. It was more like I'm upset that I can't help the team more, which was the right attitude, and I loved that.
Also,
Um,
I know, like, because I was keeping score while we had a bye first round of the winners bracket of y'all's game, and it was like Avery had a couple of really nice plays, and I could hear like your entire family
yeah,
and like
yes,
the McCarthys and like the Grays and like Aiden who were warming up on the field over, just like huge applause, and I
yeah,
was like, "That's so cool."
yeah. So that was special
It
to
was like
experience.
great to
That
watch.
was very special to experience, and I'm glad I was able to share that with her. She
Yeah,
also
and
she also mentioned that playing was a lot different than like watching because she's like,
yeah,
oh, now you have people watching you, and there's cameras in my face, and there's like pressure because I'm on a line, and so like hearing her experience from watching to playing while also having fun was yeah, it was really special for me.
yeah, and hopefully, like, I know we've kind of been as a community like slowly trying to grow it, but we just like the women that we do have involved in guts are like such amazing people and ambassadors for the game already that it's like just
Yeah.
keep trying to get
Yes.
more. And
Yes.
like whether it's like a significant other or a friend, like the more that people play it, the more they realize how great the game is, the more likely we are to get more people involved in it. And
Yeah.
it's like it's things like that if it's like, "Oh yeah, like I've got a friend who's watched a couple times, but like they were unsure about it." And then it's an environment like the Dome here where it's like, "Okay, now you get to try with no stakes.
Yep.
See how it is for a full day. You're a target and it's not a bad thing." Like,
Yeah.
cool, you're motivated now to get better at like defense. And it's
Correct.
like that's super awesome and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. It was blast. It was blast for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you keep going and take up
You want
your
me to
right whip
right whip? I
next.
can do
Yep.
that. So my right whip, and this is something that, well, first and foremost, I'd like to shout out all the people that helped put this together. The tournament staff, that being Kurt Lottinen, that also being Luke Lottinen, that being Rachel, that being Connor. Um, it wouldn't have happened without the group effort, and everyone did such a really good job, and I'm glad that we were able to pull it together in the way that we did. Because one thing about this tournament that's different than most of the other big tournaments is you don't sign up as like a team. It's more it was sign up as yourself or a buddy, and then the staff kind of would try to plug and place you into places that made sense and tried to even the playing field. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Is I thought, at least from my experience, we did a relatively good job at each game. The games that I played, each of them felt competitive, and that maybe there wasn't you know big big edges that my team or someone else's team had over us. And I really hope that that was conveyed across the board because that was my experience.
Yeah, and my pool, we had what was it? Four pools of four and then one pool of five.
Yep.
Which I don't think we said this, but 21 teams
We
was
did
what we
not we
ended
have
up
not
with,
said that. Yes.
which was like awesome. It was over 100 people played,
Hmm.
like a bunch of people in the stands. But our first game of the day was 25-23.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and it was like super back and forth. It was against the team that ended up winning the tournament. And then it was like 21-17 or 21-18. And it was like, I think we were down after the first two switches, like 10-12. But it was all like, every game felt like both sides had someone, like, they had a chance to win. And it was just like, can you actually play your game well? Um, which really segues well into left whip. The other topic I wanted to bring up was I didn't know that people could aim this well. Like the accuracy, like that was displayed. Um, we're kind of used to how we play now in a circumstance where like it's don't hit Bert or we're picking like a half the line.
Yep.
But it's like, when you get to Sunday, it's like, well, every player's really good. It's just like, what's a minute gap or like a small matchup where we feel like we can get an advantage. And one of the things about having so many rookies or so many varied players was it was so much more important to hit your person
Yes.
in a winning
Yes.
situation. And it's like, it was a little bit less of the strategy. because the strategy came a little bit more naturally of like, well, we know who the newer players are, we know who the target should be, but there was a lot more importance on execution.
Yeah.
And like I saw like Will Walden just pulling out a two finger so that it could spin away from like my dad's outside hand, and he hit him like 5 times outside, like
I th-
perfect shot frequently.
I think I sat down next to you when that was happening.
Yeah, and I was like, "That's crazy." And then like my dad responded back with like high outside hand two finger of his own on like our target on their team, but it was like even like Carter Nettle throwing a righty backhand in pool play was like super accurate.
Yeah.
And it was like just all of the games I was watching and like plenty of examples, but it was like I haven't seen this many people be this good at aiming in a long time.
Yeah, that was cool to see. And
And it was
going
like a really refreshing thing of like, oh, this hasn't gone away completely.
Yeah, that is nice. So, just talking about Carter briefly, because Hobie was the target in the finals, and I think they put him at one point in literally every single spot, 1 through 4, when Carter was throwing, and I think he hit his man like 98% of the time, and those 2% was it was 2 inches one way or the other, so it nicked the other finger of the guy in
Yeah.
that box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that to have a shot that good and then to have that much accuracy is like unfair.
Insane, absolutely insane.
But just like talent, just pure talent.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. All right,
And then the middle, the big takeaway.
which
Um,
yeah, we both agreed on this, which is why.
I think uh, as how I put it is, ooh wee, guts is
Ooh
in a
wee.
guts is in such a good spot. Like obviously we are fanatics about the sport. Seeing as how we started a podcast, we are willing to have people throw plastic at us all the time.
Yes.
But like seeing not only all of the new players, which like I'm sure you can touch on in a second too, but the amount of people I've seen playing the game for a while now and who are newer to the sport and like the leaps and bounds that they're taking. Um and like seeing the community growth. I had the opportunity to play against Hans and J Man's team, who I think last year were technically rookies. Or like it was their second year. I remember they played with Shuttlebop and Wisco, and I was like, I've never met these guys before. But like saw them out Friday night, and like we sat next to them in the stands, and they're both just like beauties.
Oh yeah.
And they're like their hands
Beauties.
are getting really good. Like J Man's two fingers just nasty. Like that thing is fast.
Yes, it's kind of insane. Yeah.
And so it's like it's a mixture of like that, and then like the community aspect of like shout outs to Josh who came up to me and talked about the podcast. He's got a question coming our way later, but like someone like that who I've only met a little bit, but already I'm like, I'm so happy that you're in the guts community
Yeah.
because that's a person I like. I look forward to talking frisbee with at tournaments, and I'm like, you're such a positive force for change in guts. And so it's like all of that like coming together that we might not see in a normal 2 day tournament was just like highlighted at the dome.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of positivity, which was great. I thought there was a lot of people in good moods. There's a lot of people, playing with buddies or someone that they were able to vibe with that were either rookies or just someone they don't know from the community. So I thought the vibes in the dome, I thought were through the roof. And that makes me even more excited for the rest of the calendar.
Yeah, I know. My buddy Dan told me he was like, "Man, I can't wait for Wisco now. Like, I
I
wish Wisco were sooner."
Yes,
As we were
correct.
driving back, and I was like, every time, like that drive back the day after a tournament or the day the tournament ends, you're like, "When's more guts? Like, when's the
Yeah.
next guts happening? Like, let's
Yes.
just get into it. Like, let's do more."
Yep. Which fortunately for me is in just a handful of days. Which how's that fence looking? Have you gone back to the fence yet? Are you
Now, there, I've been on the recovery. I need to go back in that ice bath
Yeah, we got to get
from
back in the
earlier.
ice bath.
Um, but the weather's finally warming up here. I've actually got a couple coworkers, one of whom literally yesterday I showed last year's finals because I've just talked to him about guts enough that he's like, "Dude, you just got to show me the sport. Like, I'm starting to get curious." And then like I showed him, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, we should just like get some guys from work together when the weather's nice and just like
Yes.
try playing it." And I was like,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
exactly what we want. Like someone I can throw frisbees at to
Yeah.
practice
So just
because that
before
fence." ups me way too much.
Yeah,
Like it's got my
you
number.
gotta see one go through every now and
Yeah.
then. Otherwise, that can get pretty demoralizing. Like I've got a good friend of mine, Bradley, who was there with his girlfriend watching, texted me like minutes before we started recording. It was like, "Hey, do you mind if I like come practice on Sunday?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I love
Do
that.
I mind?
Do I
You're
mind?
like,
I will pick you up and bring you there personally. I will be your chauffeur to guts practice." And he was actually someone who I was able to like in between games. It was like him, me, my dad, Hunter, and like someone like we just like jumped on a line and just kind of like casually threw back and forth at each other. So yes, it's super exciting. Guts is in a really good place right now.
yeah, I will also add, if anyone sees Mike Galisic, he almost played in the Dome tournament. I ran into him.
Almost.
Yeah, Mike was like, I almost played in the Dome tournament,
Well,
and
you have
then
more intel than I do. Spill the beans.
yeah, it's a classic bathroom conversation. Uh, but he was like, yeah, he wanted to sign up with a buddy, and his buddy had something going on, so he decided just to help out and spectate,
Yes.
keep scores, do all of the things that honestly Guts is way worse without those people like showing up and helping. But he said he might have a team already for Marquette, or he's working on it.
That's crazy
So
because this is the
if anyone
first.
sees Mike Galisic, he's ready to get in.
He's
He's
ready to
ready to
get on the
go.
line. That's funny. I'm gonna have a talk with him because I don't. This is the first time hearing about
We're
this.
looking at the next MVP of nationals.
Mike Galisic. Uh-oh. That could be. Someone's got to do it. May as well be Mike.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um.
All right.
So
So like a few more like broad things. Um, I loved having so many fields.
yeah, that was great. And it's funny. Back to Mike. He only had made. He only had what 8 made, because he really only had like Tourist Park in mind. So there
Yeah.
were some fields that didn't have a Mike Galisic scoreboard, which I do
He was telling me
apologize,
about
but
that. He
yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that we have 12 for next year of the
Yes,
scoreboards."
that I did know. That I did know. He did talk to me about that. The rest I don't. The rest I don't know. But yes, the amount of fields were great, and I thought that even though they're kind of like right next to each other, I never once felt like crammed.
No, and that was like we're kind of used to it in the frisbee community of like,
Yeah.
we've got limited field space when we get these bigger draws for like tournaments. We're going to be a little bit cramped field to field, but like I didn't feel like we had that much like chasing into other fields happening or other stuff like
No.
that.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Also like I was fortunate to be on one of the side fields. Or like not in the center between two
Oh,
nets.
sure.
But I
Yep.
felt like we had a bunch of room in the backfield, like in all directions,
Great. Good.
to give like good chase to frisbees. Also, having nets up, dude, that was so nice.
The nets
The,
are great. I'm going to be
the
honest. The
amount of
nets.
discs that we didn't have to chase down.
Yeah. The nets were not my original idea. I can't remember who brought them up, but someone was like, "What about those nets on the end over there?" And I turned and went, "I bet we could just wheel those in." And
Like part of me
yeah,
almost wonders if like we'd be able to have a setup, not of like nets that big, but even if we could like guarantee like firmly set up, like the orange fencing that they
oh,
put up for some stuff.
yes, sure,
That's
yep.
like a little bit past like waist high, but if we just put that like far enough away, but I'm thinking of like, in Marquette, like that discs always end up rolling into like the tent area.
Yeah,
If we
yep.
almost just had like segmented, like here's your walkthrough area, and then here's like the rest of the tape of like it's still low enough that you can see over it, or like if you're sitting in a chair, you could still like not have a like a limited viewing experience, but would actually help cut down frisbees that just go flying back into the woods.
That could be very helpful. Yes,
And it'll be nice because like we have all summer to like demo it at practice at Tourist Park.
could. Who do we need to
Because there's
talk
a
to about
chance that
that?
it's like, hey, this doesn't stop frisbees at all. They just roll up the
They
fence
just
and
roll
over,
up
and
and
we're
then
like,
that's
okay,
it. All right, well. Talk to me about your tournament.
yeah.
How'd round
So
robin go? What happened there for you?
we were good old 3-0. We got the 2 seed, and I said Bert's a beauty.
Yes,
Um, it also helped of like not to toot my own horn, but I felt really good on Saturday.
awesome. I
Like caught a bunch of stuff.
personally, I love to hear that.
I felt like I was throwing really good. Like I was super accurate with my backhand. We had a rookie who I'd never met before, Shane, who had the most baller move of just showing up in jeans and hiking boots,
Oh yeah,
and then he sandbagged us. Like game one, it was like, okay, Shane's pretty new. Like, give him credit. He did not dump once. Um,
wow. His dump
Even with the
counter
rookie
is
rethrow, like
fewer than
straight
ours.
zero. But it was like, first game it seemed like okay, just get the frisbee in, and then like games two onward, he just started hitting spots.
Damn.
Like it was
Hell
like
yeah.
outside man, outside hand with his backhand, which was a good it was a good in the yard toss.
Great.
Like it wasn't too fast, super flat, but it was like he
Perfect.
had some locations with it, and it was like that's all you can ask for.
I love that.
Kept some good ups. It was super fun to play with my dad, as it always is. Being able to play next to him on the line, he threw really well, which was a big help. Of like even when he got caught, it was our guy, and it went back to that
Great.
accuracy conversation.
Yep.
But yeah, super fun. Unfortunately, we had the classic. There's a big break, then we have a bye, and then we get super cold
Yeah.
moment of I think when we lost to the eventual champs, Will, Donnie, and Connor's team. I think we dumped like 6 shots,
Mm,
maybe 7 shots in that game,
yeah.
and it was, like, the classic, like, we got down early on a switch and just played it even from there, but it happens. It was a
It
super fun
happens.
squad,
Good.
like, would absolutely run it back. I got to see a little bit of your guys' day. I have to say, as wonderful as my team was, I was jealous of the lads and Lad S that you had on your team.
Yes. Yeah, it was great. I had a blast. So being able to play with Luke is always special, just because he's the boy,
The
his
OG.
the
Yeah.
OG. So Luke is always being able to play with Luke is always great. And then we had Nate Lascelle, who is Roach, and people know Nate. And actually, we had some really good conversations about like movements and what to do on certain shots. And you could see that like things higher level end movements started to like kind of click with
Yeah.
him because he's relatively new, but he's not new. Like he's been around, so he knows the essential movements. But there were some advanced things that I would like explain to him, and he was like, "Oh, that makes so much more sense." And he would tell me that like he would catch himself like, "Oh, actually, I shouldn't have done that," and he knew the answer as to what he should have done on shots. I'm like, "This is great. I love that." We had Ryan Glover, who Mitts
Mitts.
lived up to his name.
Oh, he's got unreal
Dude
hands.
turned into like mini AP for 2 seconds and just caught everything. He also threw some two fingers that were flat balls and started at knees and then untied someone's shoelaces a couple times. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't ready for that out of him. Like,
You know what? I will add because I saw this happen a few times. The other nice thing about the dome is the ground is even and there's
yes,
not really high grass.
yes,
Like there were a couple shots that I swear touched the turf of just like skimmed, but it's like, yeah, if there's one hill on the field, you dump that halfway across.
every time. Yeah,
Like
yes,
Bert threw a backhand that literally hit the line. Like it stopped on top of the line. And I was like, that's not ever a legal shot outside.
no, because uneven ground is a real thing. Hell yeah. And then me, obviously, and then Avery, of course, who played and had a really really good time, and that was special for me. We went 2-1. We played. We started with Tom's team, which who else? I got the sheet pulled up. I want to just double check. Yeah, it was Tom, Alex, Jacob, AP. We played AP. He did have some classic AP stuff where
Did he do AP things?
he did like he'd catch discs this way, like
And
he'd catch like flippers this way, and just like
you're like, that shouldn't work.
no, and it does, and you just have to be like, all right, whatever. Uh, they had a kid named Caleb and then Dan Perry, so that was a blast. They were fun. Our next game was we played. Where is he? We played Trent Smith's team. So it was Trent, Mando, Dylan Converse, Cameron, Casey Hines, and Stooge. Um, which really fun
Dude,
team.
I saw them playing late in the tournament.
Yeah, they're
Because
really fun
there's at one
team.
point we were walking over and Steve-O goes, Stooge is still in the tournament? He's gonna be so sore at the end of this.
Yeah, they were a blast. Which one of my dumps came against that team. Mando was on the one, and I went to throw it, and it must have like almost hit the line next to Mando's hand, um, which classic dump spot for me. Um, and then so I am going to fully take credit for my team being knocked out, and here's why. So the first game bracket we queued up against the Luke Lottinen, Kevin Bickler, Danny Branson,
Rick.
Rick. Yes, thank you. I'm forgetting someone. Or was that it?
It's no, it's Lauren's boyfriend
Oh, yeah. Okay. Duh. Yes. So we
who
queued up against them
Luke
right
played
away.
with last year
Yeah.
in the tournament as well.
Yes. So we queued up against them right away, and we deferred. We said we want to catch and gave them side and shot. No, but they won and they got shot, and Avery was on my end and I was a whip, and Luke lined up on Avery and went to hit her opening shot. Took a little bit off it, but went to hit her, and there were two bad things that happened on the same play. Not only did Avery not give a mark because she's new and that happens sometimes, but Luke also like hit the cone of the other field next to us. So Luke Luke and I immediately looked at each other, and Luke was like, because we both were thinking the same thing. We were like, it was a pretty bad dump, but Avery didn't give a mark. So he's
Yeah,
like,
it's that classic like technically, but like
I know. So he's
we
like,
know it
can
wasn't
we?
gonna be
Can
good.
he was like, can I please like just rethrow? And me, for
Yeah,
whatever reason, in the moment, I was like, no, it's bracket. Luke, it literally hit the other line. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. So in the moment, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. I watched it literally hit the other cone, which in
yeah.
hindsight, I probably just should have given him a rethrow. But we settled on it was a dump, and I took the dump and I threw, and Rick Milner got the meatiest paw on something, and then all of a sudden, Danny was in the backfield and like slid and caught the up, and that was how that game went the rest of that time. I think me not.
Dude, I remember watching that like that Danny catch, which was crazy.
Yes, but then they did that like the whole game. They'd get unreal hands on
Yeah,
stuff, and their movement was great. So I think me not giving Luke his rethrow because I was being selfish and I was in like bracket play mode cost us the game because that just bad karma the rest of the
dude,
way.
guts karma, man.
That
That's a real
is.
thing.
Yes, and
Like it'll come back and get you at some
I
point.
genuinely think that's what happened. So but they ended up going pretty far too. I think they made it to the semis. Um
Yeah, they lost to the team that eventually won the tournament
Yes, that is right.
as
Thank you.
well.
Yep. So they had a great run. But that's how our day went, and I had no complaints. I had a blast hanging out with boys, getting Avery on the line. The
No,
environment
it
was
was the
great.
perfect like we all got to go see guts people and do guts things,
Yes.
and it was like it doesn't matter. Like in the end, it doesn't ever actually matter who wins what tournament or how well you do. Like that fades
Yeah.
over time. Of like you remembered like the funny stories, the experiences, but my goodness, did that just highlight this of like this isn't a reason or like an excuse for the whole guts community to get together and see each other again, and like that's the coolest part of it.
Yeah. So it was a blast. We got knocked out right away, but I had fun. I had a great time hanging out with, like, I sat next to like Mike Cool and JV to watch the finals, and
Always a blast.
we just kind of BSing the whole time. I housed Aiden for a day in my spare bedroom, and I got to see Aiden for a bit. So um,
Did anyone in your experience try and throw a frisbee with their opposite hand just to see what would happen?
no, but had I known that we were going to be being asked to answer this question, um, I might have tried or at least asked people
Or
uh,
paid
or
attention?
paid attention. Do you want to just jump to that right now? Are we going to go
Yeah,
off
let's cue
script
it
a little
up.
bit? All right, yeah, great.
Yeah, so a little like peek behind the curtain pre-pro. Braden and I were talking about this, and I was like, "There's four correct answers," and Braden said, "I have zero answers for this question."
Yes.
So I'll let you queue up the question since I'm apparently the one with the answers for it.
So the question is, which you can see on the screen here, who would have the most consistent shot if they switched to their non-dominant hand? Noah, you're the man with the answers today.
Yeah, so there's the like the truly ambidextrous. Like, there's two truly ambidextrous throwers at this point that I know of, uh, which are both people who threw or throw thumbers and then switched to throw a backhand with their other hand. So Steve
Interesting.
Buckley the Hall of Famer and legend is the first one I know. He threw a righty thumber, and if you watch his mechanics, he has that kind of like high angled release lefty backhand. He said
Sure.
his footwork and everything below his shoulders are basically the same.
Wow, that makes
So
so
he's
much sense.
yeah. So like, my dad tried to get Mike Mullet, the legend, to do it one time because Mike can't throw anything that's not a lefty thumber, and like it didn't
Oh,
work for him. But that's why Carter throws a righty backhand.
because the
It's
mechanics are the
because
same.
the twist, the mechanics are the same.
That makes
So
so
Carter's
much
the other correct
sense.
answer. Of like, I watched Carter throw a righty backhand for 3 games before breaking out his thumber. Of like, it's all identical. So those are the two like they legitimately throw with both hands in tournament
Wow.
answers.
Yes.
Um, the other one, Jared from Worms.
Oh, does he really?
I his lefty turnaround backhand might be faster than my righty backhand.
See, I didn't know
Like
that.
it's crazy. He'll break it out at practice or like occasionally in round robin play, and you're like, Jared, I didn't even realize that was your offhand.
Right, which is
Like
probably
it's just
why
like
I didn't
it's a
notice it.
good high angled backhand. And then the last one, which should come to a surprise to nobody, is Michael Banghart, who
Oh,
I watched figure out one time because he was bored how to like approach lefty to throw a backhand, and I was like, that's really good. And then he was like, I bet I could throw other shots too, and then he did, and I was like, of course, Michael,
because of
because once you
course.
mastered every right-handed shot, why don't you master all the
Oh,
left-handed shots
uh-huh.
now?
Jesus. That's awesome. See, that's another thing. I didn't know that. See,
But
and
yeah,
this is why
those are
you have the
the
answers, because I
yeah,
don't.
those are the super. We're 4/5 of the way to a line, Braden. If you
Well,
have a fifth person to round out the starting five,
okay, so someone who I think has before, and I could be wrong, and I'm gonna see them Sunday. So if you don't, like, please come up to me like, Braden, I don't throw with two hands. What the fuck are you talking about? I could have sworn I've seen Lucas Jensen do it a few times.
which like Lucas, real athletic guy.
Yeah, like I could see that being there's a non-zero chance that he is a that's a real possibility that he throws with both hands, or can at least throw with both hands.
But yeah, I think that's the five. Next time you see one of us at Frisbee, throw with your offhand at me. Proof that you can do it.
Prove you can make that starting lineup.
I know two guys who are not going to make that starting lineup are in front of you because
Yeah, Bingo and Bango
the
here
left,
are
the left's got nothing.
no, not
It's
a damn thing.
left is for catching.
Yes,
Glove side.
that
We
is.
don't.
That's the windmill side is what that
Yeah, we
is.
don't. We don't try and throw with the snagger on.
No,
Um,
no, that's a windmill into tucking it under the right arm, so
oh, the
I
Ryan
can.
Morsey special.
Yeah, the immediate windmill into tuck is
I
the
mean, it's the speed with which that man could take his glove off. Unreal.
yeah, the disc would be like halfway to the line, and he'd already be like unvelcroing.
Like, yeah, it'd be crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, I have one really funny Ryan Morrissey memory that I'm hoping you remember. I think we were in Marquette. It might not have been a Marquette, but we were. It was this was old Wolfpack. This is like looking at the
The
line.
original.
This is like looking at the line. It's you, Dan Gannon, Ryan Morrissey, Rachel, and like me or Luke. Like this
Yeah.
is a throwback. There was one time I remember Ryan was in the middle and he got the biggest up in the world. And instead of moving, and instead of helping the defense, he upped it, and he just stood there and said, "You're fucking welcome." And
And I stepped in and caught the frisbee.
yes, he did nothing else except he just upped
Oh,
it and said, "I did my job." I
it's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And it's like you cannot repeat it. Like it
no,
was one of the most organic. In my defense, this era of the Wolfpack could not catch ups. We were so
we were
bad at them.
so horrendously bad,
But that was like the perfect pop. And he was like,
and
"Here
he
you
knew it. He
go."
knew it too. He was
Yeah,
aware.
he's like the speed with which he said it too of like we hadn't even caught the frisbee
Oh
yet.
yeah, again, it was like halfway to the line, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, I did my job. Here you go, figure it out."
I got it.
Oh, that's
Don't even want to
awesome.
move to play defense.
No, no. Okay, well, I think that's unless you've got anything else. I want to transition us to the our last thing on the
Yeah,
dock.
let's bring it out. This is the most important thing of this entire
This
podcast.
is the most important thing in the podcast. Noah, would you mind telling me what month it is?
It is March, in fact.
Would you mind telling me what happens in March sometimes?
There's some madness, I think is what we call it.
You're
Uh,
damn right. There's some madness. Noah, would you mind reading me the title of this?
yeah, so screw your NCAA bracket. We don't need 68 teams
No.
when you could participate in the Tournament of Frisbee Motions as decided by the viewers of the number one Guts Frisbee podcast in America, which is, of course, the Bag Zone.
Oh man.
So
Yes.
we're going to need your help uh, as a community to decide what the best Frisbee shot is. However, you want to interpret that, up to you. Here's the bracket. Braden, you're going to be in charge of kind of how it gets sent out. So I'll let you kind of talk through that
Yep.
of what people can expect.
So my plan is I will be making some sort of Google form you fill out. Basically, you'll be going right through. Each question will be like thumber or shit hook, and then it'll bring you to like two finger or spud, and basically you just pick yours. And we're only gonna do the first round. I don't really know how long I'm gonna have this open for, but the first initial form or submission will just be this first round, and then we'll narrow it down to the final four, and then we'll resend another submission um, until we get the winner. And what I think is fun about this is um, it's the tournament of frisbee motions, and that's not the best shot. That's not per se your favorite shot. That's not what you hate seeing. That's not what you like defending the most. It's just however you want to decipher what this bracket means to you in terms of what these shots mean to you is open for interpretation, which I think is great. So if you throw a thumber,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, dude, you throw a
yeah,
thumber.
I also like you see the Aiden Claffey, like the Euro step and the Derek Jeter, like the ways he's come up to throw flips creatively. Like you want to talk about a frisbee motion.
Yes, exactly. Like stuff like that. It doesn't. You interpret this however you want. But we figured we wanted to get in on the March Madness fun and make our own bracket. Except we just skipped to the Elite Eight. Um,
Yeah, because
could you
I mean,
imagine?
it'd be fun to create another, you know, 56
Could you
frisbee
imagine
shots.
if there was 64 total ways a frisbee could be thrown?
No, like I actually can't.
That's
My
way too
brain
many.
would break.
That's so many ways to throw a frisbee.
I mean, just wait till the bloomin' onion really gets going, and then like
Oh man.
the world oyster after that.
Yes, essentially. So this is the bracket. I'm going to release this around the time of this video being released, if not the exact same time. And I think as of right now, because we're still working on getting the socials up and running, I'm just gonna promote it through my personal, and like I'll put it in the subsequent Guts
Yep,
Frisbee
and
group
it'll be
chats.
on mine as well.
Yep.
Um,
So
and if you have no idea what half of these shots are, it'll be even funnier to get your response in the comments.
correct. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. If you're like, what is a spud? Well, that's hey man, that's up for you to decide.
Open to interpretation. That's the best part.
That is the best part. So be on the lookout for that because that will be coming to you very shortly.
And no matter which of those 8 throws Braden and I throw at any of you, you know that either way we'll be saying, "Go
Go
get it"
get
at
it.
the end.
And we'll see
So
you.
remember that, everyone.
Yes. Oh, and also quick update. We will not be
Oh, yeah,
seeing
this is
you.
important.
This is very important because we're in the off season still technically. We are taking next week off. You will not hear from us next Thursday. Instead, you will hear from us. Noah, you might need to help me out on this. The Thursday after next, which is the 3rd
Of April.
of April. The 3rd of
Yes.
April. Yep. And as of right now, we've got something really fun and something special planned for that episode.
Unless it doesn't work out, and then we'll do it some later
And
time.
then we'll do it some later
But
time. But either way,
but
you
until
guys
then,
you guys will not be
who
seeing us
knows?
until then. So yeah. What do you say, Noah? Until then.
Go get it.